I 24F, had my son Ryan when I was 16 years old. His father Jack was also 16. My parents wanted me to get an abortion, but I begged my parents to let me keep the baby. Jack also suggested an abortion, but said he'll step up if I decided to keep it. Our parents did not allow us to live together, so we'll do 1 week on 1 week off with the baby. After 2 years of this arrangement, we were finally about to get an apartment and start school at the local university. My cousin, who is my best friend, went to the college, already invited me to a frat party, and I met Dylan, who was a master's student finishing his final semester. I know I was still with Jack, but talking to Dylan made me feel alive. After that night we continued to talk and eventually we began having an affair. Jack was too busy with AP test and graduation to notice. Dylan knew about my situation and asked if I and Ryan wanted to move with him to Chicago. I explained how I couldn't take Ryan away from his father, so he asked if I wanted to go by myself and I said yes. I only told my cousin, who was upset that I would do this to Jack, but said she wouldn't tell. I texted Jack that I was too young to be a mother and that I was in love with someone else and please not contact me anymore. I then blocked him on everything. I explained to my parents my plans, and while they were against it, they couldn't stop me. I enrolled in college in Chicago, and my first 2 years were a blur. I was depressed, but if it wasn't for the partying and drinking, I wouldn't have made it. Also during this time, a man appeared at my door with papers for me to sign. I was too drunk to bother reading it. But looking back at it, he was a notary public. And I was stupid. Dylan helped me through my darkest times, and we got married a year after I graduated. I'm now a high school art teacher and my husband is a physics professor. After getting his PhD, I just found out I'm pregnant and we decided that it was time to get Ryan to come with us. I began looking on Jack's Facebook page and realized he also moved to Chicago. I contacted a mutual friend and he gave me Jack's address. I went over there and knocked on the door and was surprised and asked what did I want. I explained that I wanted to see Ryan. He stood firm and said no. He said I gave over my rights as his mom and that I'm no longer welcomed in his life. I yelled at him, explaining that I never gave up my rights. He then showed me the signed documents. I read carefully and it was my signature. I called him a shitty person and an asshole. He called me a whore. I cried, begging him to let me adopt Ryan so I can have rights again, but he shut the door in my face. I'm sitting in my car writing this and asking for advice. Next story. I kicked out my sister-in-law for spreading true rumors about my marriage. My M32 sister-in-law, F18, is living with my wife, F27, and while she attends university. She has a partial scholarship and we let her live here so her family can save money. My wife was injured severely in a fall while hiking 2 years ago. Unfortunately, she has lost the use of her limbs. I love my wife very much and I will never divorce her. We have 2 very young kids that need us both. Also, my work provides us with medical insurance, which obviously is very important to us. The crux of the matter comes down to sex. My wife cannot have sex. Not any kind. There are medical reasons. No, I won't go into it. About 1 year after her accident, my wife was feeling very down. She was in a very dark place. She thought I was going to leave her and go be with someone else. I did not have anyone else on the side. I also had no time. I was working, taking care of 2 kids, and assisting in her care. I literally had no time for anything like that. Anyway, it led to a fight that led to me admitting that I still had physical needs that weren't being met by a quick wank in the shower. Before you ask, yes, we are both in therapy. This has been a situation that neither of us imagined when we met. Long story short, my wife finds me women that I sleep with and have zero emotional attachment to. I do not go looking for women and I don't tell my wife what to do. When she decides that I need it, she makes the arrangements. It's not perfect. It's not what I want. I want my wife to be healthy again. I want to hold her. I want to be with her. It's never going to happen. It was a private decision that we made together. And as far as I'm concerned, it should have stayed private. My sister-in-law moved in with us in September to start university. She helps out around the house and with the kids. In return, she lives in our basement suite and I give her some spending money. She doesn't work hours a day or anything. She might watch the kids while I make dinner, or she will work in my wife's garden. One of the nights that I was going out as arranged, my sister-in-law was supposed to watch the kids. Instead, she got one of her friends to watch them and she followed me. She saw me go meet a woman and go up to a hotel room. She took pictures. Rather than talk to her sister about it, she decided to wait until Christmas when we had the family over to confront me with the evidence in front of everyone. I was pissed. My wife was furious and embarrassed. My in-laws were getting ready to kick my ass until my wife spoke up and explained everything. Nobody is really okay with it, but it wasn't what they thought. But now everyone knows something very private about us that we didn't want publicized. I talked to my wife about it and her sister is no longer welcome to live with us. She is having to commute from her parents' home almost 2 hours each way. Tough shit. She could have talked to us. She could have confronted me. She could have talked to her sister. Instead, she chose to be a hero and tell everyone something that was never meant to be public. She is begging us to come back because she now has no social life because she is traveling 3.5 to 4 hours a day. Her parents are offering to rent the basement, but we do not want her here. Next story. Ex-hubby is being sued and now he wants to get back together. I'm currently separated from my husband, whom I was with for nearly 2 years. I know, I should have waited longer to get married. This may be a bit long, but let me give you a quick breakdown. For context, my ex worked as an executive and made great money. He made a big show of what a great man he was, how financially savvy he was, came from a great family, was a complete package. I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I always felt inferior. I'm a college dropout, and although I'm a successful model and do well, I still felt insecure. Once we were married, the fights started. My husband was angry that I wasn't making enough money and was too financially unstable. Then I wasn't preparing the right meals for him. Then I needed to pay for more of the meals in the house. He criticized me and said I needed to have a better education. But when I signed up for courses, he screamed that I wasn't using my money wisely. I booked a really huge international campaign, I was over the moon. When I flew back into the city, he refused to pick me up from the airport and said maybe we could talk if I behaved better. I returned home in tears. I finally had enough. I moved out and we have legally separated. Let me tell you, after I left and moved out, it was hell. I had to go back on medication during the separation because I was so depressed. I started running just to cope with the depression. I pushed myself onto friends, strangers, and said yes to every social invitation that I could. Slowly, my friend group turned into an amazing group of humans. I cut a lot of people out. I stopped dating completely. I became so addicted to running that I've signed up for my first race this summer. Life has gotten good. My ex, on the other hand. He still comes to my gym where he knows I work out religiously. He came up to me after a class and said he wanted to talk in person. Then he dropped the bomb that his legal problems have escalated, and now he is part of a huge lawsuit. It is most likely he will lose his licensing. He probably won't be hired anywhere because he worked with such a corrupt company. But no, he wouldn't listen to me at the time because I'm just a silly, bird-brained model. I laughed in his face. I finally had enough of listening to him and being so nice all the time. I told him that he comes from a rich family and he constantly bullied me about my financial state. He told me all these lies about myself for years, and I believed him. I'm finally realizing they aren't true. I'm on track to make 100K this year, which isn't a lot, but is pretty amazing for someone without a college degree, especially in this recession. He's realizing that women do not want him. I just feel so angry, emotional, and that I'm seething. I wasted years with him trying to prove that I was good enough and turns out, he's just a loser. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with each other in the comments below. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, Corner Stories signing off.